been a great 2.5 days, and we're wrapping it up after our next speaker. Certainly we'll enjoy this presentation as well. So will Dr. Lisa Rice come up and introduce our next speaker.
Gotta have my glasses and my notes, of course, but it is my privilege to introduce Desaray Wilhite. She is the owner of Ray of Lhite boutique and storefront. She's the epitome of hard work, dedication, and one self-motivated lady. She's a first-generation college student, like many of us in this room. She earned her degree from Moberly Area Community College and her bachelor's in from Columbia College. All of this while she's raising her family and working. Her dream of owning her own business has come with challenges, but she's overcome and conquered and succeeded. She gives back to her local community whenever she can. She pays school lunch bills for students that can't afford lunch. She's a nominee for the Entrepreneur of the Year for the Moberly Chamber of Commerce, and we won't find that out until May 4th, but I'm pretty sure she's a pretty good candidate for that. I'm very happy to introduce and welcome my niece, Desaray Wilhite.
Gotta figure this thing out. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I don't do this every day, and I'm not nervous. Just kidding. So, my name is Desaray Wilhite. I am from Huntsville, Missouri. I'm about an hour from here, just west of Moberly. I said I was going to get up here and wing it and not go to my notes, but there I am looking at them. So, anyways, I grew up in Clifton Hill, very small town. You blink and you drive through it. My dad was always an entrepreneur. He owned a sawmill. So from the time I was about 8 years old, I was always active and running around in the sawmill. So I would mark the logs that came in on the log trailers. He kind of had his own funny, unique way of doing things. So my brother and I would go down with a tape measure and measure how long the logs were so the loader operator could come in and sort them to the piles that they needed to go. And for some reason, if it was 8 foot, you put 2 dots on there. 9 foot was 1 dot. 10 foot, you put a line. And if it was 12, you put the number 12. So I don't know why there wasn't some unique painting for the number 12. But if it was a 16-foot log, we would mark a line down the middle so they could come in with the chainsaw and cut it in half, and then it would be marked 8 foot on each end with the 2 dots. So it would go to those piles. I also did things, my dad would go through with a scale stick, and he would measure how the width of the tree was, and that determined how you paid the logger who brought it in. So he would always go through there very fast with his wood stick, and he would do division in his head. I don't know how he ever did it, but he was so fast with the math in his head that sometimes I had trouble writing down all the numbers because he was going so fast. And he always walked so fast down the log yard, and there was big piles of wood everywhere, so you're trying to run to keep up with his walk, and then you're tripping over these things, and you're still trying to catch up to him writing all these things down. But those are some things I did. I also worked in the office and did bill of ladings for truck drivers and did some of the paperwork side. I even worked in the back of the sawmill and stacked slabs and stacked 2x4s. So when I was in my teenage years, I was in pretty good shape. I don't know what happened after that. I should have stayed, but my dad was always an entrepreneur, and I didn't have any desire to do that. I saw the headaches, I saw all the bills that the stress piled up, and then I saw the good times. So I got to witness all of that, but never in my head did I think that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So while I was working for him in my high school years, I thought that I wanted to be a nurse. So I got a job at a nursing home. I started out in the kitchen. I would work a few hours at night, just serving juice or just greeting elderly people in the dining room, taking their trays, and just kind of being involved. So I was later hired as a CNA, And on my first day, I quickly realized that it wasn't for me. Some of the things that I saw just wasn't what I wanted to do. So I survived 3 hours. I told my mentor that I was going to go to my car and take a break. Well, I left. I went back to the sawmill, and my dad said, "What are you doing here?" I went, "I'm here to work." He was so confused, but just it wasn't for me. Some of the attitudes of inmates of patients. I'm skipping ahead of myself. My mother-in-law works at the prison, so it's inmates there. So I went back to the sawmill, and I just wanted to work. All I wanted to do was work and make money. So when I was a junior, I dropped out of high school. Yeah. So then I was working at the sawmill. I went back to the kitchen in the nursing home, and I was also a pizza waitress. So I was working at Pizza Hut, just making all kinds of money. And that's all that I thought that I needed to do. My mom is a mail carrier, and she's been there probably 25 years. So when I turned 19, I went to work at the post office. And I did that for probably 10 years. And then I was hired as a rural carrier sub. So I delivered mail, was on the gravel roads. You ended the day and you just were completely white from all the dust. So you would have hair full of dust, my eyelashes would be white. It was part-time, so I borrowed myself out to other post offices. So I probably traveled within a 30-mile radius from home, just going wherever I could to get hours. Learning different rural routes, and then I did some city carrying. And that is not easy. If you have any kind of problems with your knees, you quickly will find out that city carriers work their tails off. It's very hard on your knees. You're climbing ditches, you're up and down stairs all day. In the wintertime, it's ice, and you're just walking very carefully on the ice, trying to be cautious not to fall. You're bit by dogs. The little ones are the worst. One day I was walking along, and out of nowhere, there's a little dog on top of my shoe trying to just tear my shoe up. So I have maced a few dogs. The mail carrier pepper spray is pretty good stuff. So then, after doing the rural routes and the city carrier routes, I decided to work in the office some. So I worked in the office, traveled around, went to different offices, and did all of that. So in some of the smaller towns, there's not a lot of things to do during the day. You go in, you get the mail sorted, you get the carriers on the road, you have a few things to do throughout the day, but there was a lot of downtime. And in those small post offices, I was just waiting for someone to come in and buy stamps. So I had to be doing something. So that's when I enrolled in college. I was probably 21 at the time. So I enrolled at Moberly Area Community College and was going to start on my associate's degree. I had small kids, and they were starting to get involved in sports, so all of their basketball games were on Saturdays. I was working every Saturday, every holiday. I swore every Christmas Eve I slid off into the ditch, and I decided that I wanted a career change, and I didn't want to do the Saturdays anymore. So I got on Indeed and Monster and was just doing the job searches, and I had some offers that were presented to me for insurance, and they would guarantee you to make $100,000, but what they didn't tell you was they take you to a town and they drop you, and then you just cold call and you door knock and you're out there away from home. And I thought, well, I'm a young mom. I can't go out 5 days a week and be doing that. So I just kind of dropped it, stayed with the post office, and then I had an interview email from Aflac. And everybody knows Aflac and the duck, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna give this a try. So I responded to the email, went for the interview. They liked my interview, and they called me back for a second interview, and then they called and offered me a job. And I accepted it, and everybody in my family thought I was crazy because I was leaving a government job to go to a commission-only job. So at this point, I had to tell myself I refuse to fail. I have to prove these people wrong because they think I can't do this. So I did. I had a very good mentor. He was from Spain, and he was a college student at Fulton, and he went to look for his first job and didn't have any idea what he was doing. So he went through the phone book and saw that Aflac was hiring. Aflac started with an A, and that's just where he went. So he did very well. I was very blessed to have him as my district manager and mentor. My first month, I did very well. I was on top of the world. I had made more money that month than ever. So then he turned me loose, and I realized that it was a lot harder. But I did well with Aflac. My first year, I hit all of my awards that I was in line to hit. I won a trip to home office, toured the cancer center and the children's blood hospital that they have in Atlanta, Georgia. And then I won a trip to Cabo, and I didn't go. And I'll always regret that. My husband is a cattle farmer, and the trip was in February, and it was calving season, and he said, there's no way I can run this household and take care of the boys without you. So I didn't go. And I did Aflac I'm still actually contracted with them. So I started my Aflac career in 2013. In 2018 is kind of where my story now got started. So in 2018, I had asked our local screen printer in town to make me some t-shirts for my son's birthday. Well, he really was just busy and overwhelmed and didn't have the time to get my order done, but him and my cousin were also going through a nasty breakup. So in my mind, I went, he's just being a douche and treating us bad because they broke up. So I went, fine. He didn't give me my shirts, I'll make them myself. I had no idea what I was doing. So I get on Amazon and I ordered a heat press. The heat press comes in and I opened the box up and I thought, what's this? Where's the things to make the shirt? Where's the rest of it? I had no idea that I needed to buy a vinyl cutter, something to cut out the letters or the design to put on the t-shirt. So I did some research and then I ordered a cricut. The cricut came in and I looked at it and I went, oh, I can't do this. This is way too hard. So from October to January, it sat in the box. January, some things started to slow down. After the holiday season, it's always crazy and you're trying to get all the things done and all the invitations out and just trying to do like the perfect mom thing with the Christmas cards and the photos and all that. So in January, I get this thing out of the box and I finally start watching some videos. Still wasn't sure about it. So March, I'm finally into it and rolling and doing some things. My kids were at a Catholic school and their uniforms were very basic. The only thing that their shirts ever said was St. Pius X, Moberly, Missouri. So I created the mascot. I put the Trojan head on a quarter zip sweatshirt. They wore them to school and everybody thought that it was the greatest thing. So other students wanted them and teachers wanted them and other parents wanted them. So I'm making all these Trojan heads and pressing them on this sweatshirt with a cricut. So I think this is awesome. It's going well. Well, what I didn't know is what I was doing and not pressing them properly, and vinyl's not always the greatest thing for everyday shirts. So a lot of those things started to peel off. But it was after that, everybody saw how well I was doing and how great this product was. So my cousin owns his own construction company, and he wanted me to make him some shirts. Well, his logo was an excavator pulling a pile of dirt. And if anybody has any experience in vinyl, there's no way you can weed those teeny tiny pieces because they're just gonna come up from the vinyl. So I thought, I'm gonna have to do something better. And at this point, crickets are good and everybody has one. So I thought, if I wanna do this and I wanna be good, I have to beat the market and I have to be better than everybody else with a cricut. So I did a little bit of research and I got a company in St. Louis and I said, I would like to buy screen printing equipment. Okay, so they go down, they show me a few things, saw the price of them. I settled for not the hobby package, but the step above. I think I invested probably a little over 10 grand that day. They said, oh, by the way, we give you a free class by buying your equipment and setup from here. Great. So in June, I go to St. Louis and I spend 2 days. And that class, I went, oh my, what did I get myself into? I didn't know that I needed a dark room. I didn't know that to coat a screen to make the design that it had to not be exposed to light. I didn't know that I was gonna have to install a sink to wash out the screens. I didn't know that I was gonna have to buy a power washer, and I didn't know that I was gonna have to put in 220 electric to run some of this equipment. So I told my husband, well, I already bought it and I can't get my money back, so we have to do all these things. So we did. And then I taught myself how to screen print after I had taken the class. It's a lot of information thrown at you at once, so you get a little bit of the basics, but after that, I definitely learned from my mistakes. So my first round of t-shirts was a red shirt with a yellow arrowhead and they said Kingdom. I thought I was doing awesome. I was selling t-shirts. It was Red Friday and they were $10 a piece. Everybody bought them. And they all washed out because I didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't cure the ink properly, and people still have those t-shirts with half of an arrowhead on their shirt. But I see them and it just reminds me of how far things have gotten since then. So I did a lot of business screen printing and team sports and was staying pretty busy with that. That was 2019. July is when I had bought that equipment. Soon it's March of 2020 and it's COVID. So the whole world stops and I'm going, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay for this equipment that comes out of my account every month? So trying to think ahead, I called the company and I'm like, everybody is doing these arrangements right now. Can I skip my payments for a while? Like, what kind of plan can I put in place to prepare for this thing called COVID? So as soon as that happened, everybody wanted senior 2020 shirts and toilet paper shirts. So that's what I started printing. At that time, my AFLAC job, I couldn't do anything. I did a lot of school enrollments. I did a lot of nursing home enrollments. I had partnered up with a broker out of Pittsburgh, and they sent me to nursing homes all over the state of Kansas. So I was gone a few times a month, usually 2 to 3 days at a time. That's all that I would allow myself to be gone. But at that point, we weren't allowed to go into the nursing homes or to the schools, so I couldn't sell an accident policy or a cancer policy over the phone, especially in a time in a pandemic where people don't know if they're going to be able to even buy anything. So I rode 2020 out with toilet paper shirts and senior 2020. During that time, I had started to get in some requests for embroidered hats. I had found a girl, actually she was from Columbia, and we met at the class in St. Louis. So I feel like networking is always important because you never know who you're gonna meet and what you're gonna gain from that. So I had reached out to her and we had talked about her monogram business, and she was looking to see if screen printing was something she wanted to get into. She was actually a step ahead of me because she went to the class first to see if she wanted to do that. Myself, I just bought it and didn't do any research and thought, well, I can do it. So I'd reached out to her, and I was taking my hats to her, and she was embroidering them for me because I didn't have a machine. She was going crazy during COVID. She had purchased an extra machine, so she now had 3 embroidery machines in her shop because everybody wanted the embroidered face mask. So that was going well for her. Later on, some things happened where she didn't need a 3rd machine anymore, and she called me one day and she said, would you like to buy this machine? Instead of you bringing your stuff to me all the time, why don't you just do it yourself? And I thought, okay, sounds good to me. Here I am again, not knowing anything about embroidery or how to run this machine. She brought it to me, she taught me how to thread the machine, and then she left. And I went, okay. So that machine sat on the desk for probably 2 or 3 months because I didn't know how to work it, so I didn't touch it. I'm like, all right. So later on, I finally got into it and was learning it and doing some things there. In 2021, I served on our school board at our local school. My husband and I had been Chiefs ticket holders, and we were going to all the Chiefs games, and then we had stopped as our kids got older and had ball games, and we just couldn't go and do those things because they and their activities came first. So the school had this bus for sale on their school surplus list, and they had told me, they said, you and your husband need to buy this bus. You could have a party bus for all your Chiefs games. I went, no, we're not interested. We're not gonna buy a bus. We'll just get in trouble with a party bus. We just will. So that night I went home, went to bed, didn't think anything about it. I literally had a dream that night that I bought a bus and I gutted it and I turned it into a t-shirt shop. So the next day I'm downstairs and I'm working in my shop and I'm not thinking anything about it. And about noon I went, oh my gosh, that bus. So I put in an offer, and we bought a bus. So we go and we pick it up, and I've never driven a bus before. I didn't know anything about it. I was scared of it. I wasn't going to drive this thing. Well, my husband said, yes, you are. You bought it. This is your idea. I'm not going with you, and you're driving the dang thing. So I learned how to drive it. July, a month later, I went to a trade show, and I thought, I want to buy a direct-to-garment printer. I'm screen printing, I'm doing a little bit of embroidery, and when somebody wants a design that's very colorful, or if they just want one shirt, it's ideal to have at least 12 shirts to screen print something. So I went and I bought a direct-to-garment printer. Here I am again, not knowing what I'm doing, how I'm going to run this machine, but I figured it out. So July through August, I'm trying to teach myself how to print on a direct-to-garment printer and remodel a bus. So we started ripping out seats and doing all the things to remodel this bus. It took us about 4 months to remodel the bus, and I have some pictures that I'll show you guys here after a while. I guess I could show you now. That's the bus that we bought. Your traditional school bus, and it has the seats in there. That's my son. He was probably 10 at the time. He started ripping seats out. That's what your average school bus looks like between the seat and the walls. It's pretty disgusting. We found a lot of those things. We found a lot of pencils, a lot of erasers, fake diamond ring. So then we sprayed the whole thing. We had it gutted out. It took us longer to tape all of the windows than it did to spray this bus out. Maybe. That's the flooring that I did myself. It's not fabulous, but a couple hours, a few cuss words, I got it done. Maybe. What? Oh, okay. I ordered some fabric off Amazon, and I wanted to keep a couple of the seats in, so I left the seat in the back. That has a heater in the bus, and that still works, so we didn't want to mess with taking that out. That was when we were starting to fill the bus, and the bus is here today, so you guys have the opportunity to check it out, go inside, walk through it, shop if you want. Before we got the outside of the bus painted, I wanted to do a trial run. There was a local show that was happening. This is at the Higbee Fairgrounds. It's about 30 minutes south of where I live. So I took my big yellow bus there. I thought, well, it's kind of a very small rural town, and I thought it'll be okay to take it out. I didn't want to take it out a whole lot before I got the outside painted, because once they saw the bus, I wanted them to know who I was. So I went with my yellow bus, and I just thought this photo was pretty cool because I got to set up right next to Confederate Railroad. And then that's our paint job. We had a lot of trouble getting somebody to paint this bus. It was too large for it to go into the bays. Nobody had a bay large enough to print it, and nobody wanted to mess with it. So we found a farmer who had some experience in body work, and he painted this bus in his barn. And then our local, we have a local printing shop who had done the graphics for us. So at first, I had put on the custom printing and apparel. I was doing some custom work for people, but then I quickly got busy with the bus and didn't have time to do all of this custom work. So I later, you'll see it today if you check the bus out, it says come inside, shop the bus. So for a while, people didn't realize that you could come on the bus and shop inside. So people would walk by and be like, well, what's that? Maybe it's just storage and they're set up somewhere else. So we changed the graphics for that. This was a show I did in Brunswick. This was one of the first shows that I had done. I just found an old shelf on Facebook Marketplace. This was a bookshelf that I turned over sideways, and we screwed it in, and it works perfect for some sweatshirt storage. That's a more full picture of our bus as we have grown. This was at a rodeo over the summer. That was one of my first shows that I had set up outside. This was a show in Centralia. It's second Saturdays. We go there sometimes, and it was Mother's Day weekend, so we had given every mom a little flower when they checked out. This was a night show. This is the Glasgow Boat Parade. This was Pioneer Days in Cairo, just this past summer. We put an awning on the bus last summer. We probably put that on in, I don't know, August. I was so excited because it was going to be new for this year's show season. We put an RV camper on the bus. October, we went to Lynn. And I knew this day would come, but I just didn't know that it was going to come this day. Yeah. So Lynn is about the farthest that I have traveled from home. It is about an hour and a half. And on the way home, started smoking. I had just had the oil changed. It was ready to go. Like it had passed inspection, all the checkouts, like we were good to go for the rest of the season. And our busy season on the bus starts around September and goes all the way to probably the middle of December. And at that time, there's festivals and craft shows every weekend. So we're gone on the bus every single weekend. So this really hurt us and set us back. We made it to Ashland, and noises started going off, and that's my mother-in-law there. She goes with me a lot on the shows. She was a bus driver for 30 years, so she has a little bit more bus experience than me. So she drove for a while, but there are times, like today, she's at work. She obviously couldn't come with me, so I had to pull up my big girl pants and drive the bus by myself. And as I've done it more and more, I get more comfortable. Luckily, I have Highway 24, and it drives pretty smooth. It's the side roads that are kind of nasty. But we had to call a few tow trucks. Nobody could tow us because we were too big. So luckily, I-70 towing pulled us back, and we thought, okay, maybe they didn't get the oil cap sealed, or hopefully it's nothing major. Well, they call, and we had a blown motor and cracked heads and all of that yucky stuff. So that set us back about $11,000. I only paid $800 for this bus. And I thought, what do I do? Do I invest this money, or do I, try to find another bus and start this whole process all over? Can I find an old bus and just pull the motor out and put it in? Well, my mechanic didn't want to do that. He said, you either buy a bus and re-gut it, or you do it my way and we buy a new motor. So after putting the RV air conditioner in, nobody wanted to do that again, so I probably wasn't going to get an air conditioner. The guy who agreed to tint the windows said it was the most horrible job he's ever done because there was so much cutting and tedious work on every window, so I knew that I wasn't going to get the windows tinted. The guy who painted it said he totally undercharged me because it was a lot more work than what he thought he was going to do, so I knew I couldn't get it painted. And after all those things, I thought, let's just fix it. So that's what we did. So that's kind of an ugly challenge that I have faced in this business, is the bus motor blowing up. So far we're good. December, we got it back. It's set in the shop from October to December, so we were down out all of those shows where we would have made a lot of money and didn't. I've had some pretty fun visitors pop in the bus. This was Miss Missouri. This is my favorite one, my favorite guest. This is Tony the Tiger. He is our bus mascot. When I first got the bus, it was our school homecoming, and we were playing the Tigers. So I was so excited to get the bus out and put it in the school parade. So I had ordered this tiger just off of Amazon and put it on the hood. That was our float. We went to our first show, and I thought, I'm going to do a drawing and just give this tiger away. What am I going to do with a tiger? Well, our first show, what do you think happened? Every kid who came on the bus wanted to get in the driver's seat. So we just stuck this tiger in there to try to keep people away. So it helps. Occasionally you'll have a few kids try to slip in and slide next to him, but it's amazing that a lot of kids are scared of him. And he's kind of a showstopper. People will drive by, and then you'll see him backing up, and they're going, look at that tiger. Did you see that tiger driving that bus? So we just have kept him, and he's part of our team. So that's Tony. He's in the driver's seat right now. And this is my maintenance man. This is my son. He was probably, this is a few years old, but he does all my handyman things. Every winter, the wasps will get up in the air conditioner and they will build nests, and he has to climb on top of the bus and knock them out so that way the fan will turn. He changes my battery. When we first got the bus, we were putting battery after battery after battery in this thing, and we couldn't figure out why we were going through so many batteries. We took it to the shop, and somebody who knew what they were doing said, something clearly is hooked up that's draining your battery. Well, it was the camera system. So whoever had plugged in the camera system before was draining the battery. And maybe that's why they wanted to get rid of it, because it was going through all the batteries. But we haven't had any other trouble besides the motor. So that's all that I have on the bus. That bus paid for itself in 4 shows. So by the time we bought the bus, put everything into it, did all the work, I took it out for 4 shows and got all of my money back. So that was good. We still have the bus and take it out, not as often. So in 2022, I decided, after people wanted to come to my house and shop the bus in my driveway, I always said I didn't want a storefront because I didn't want to be tied down to the hours. But at this point, I'm an entrepreneur and all I do is work. I work around the clock. When I'm not working, I'm thinking about working, and when I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming about working. So I decided to open up a storefront. In our town in Huntsville, there is not a lot there. We had a Dollar General and a Casey's and maybe a tire shop. We had some empty buildings, and I thought, I'm just gonna give it a try, what the heck. A lot of people came to me and they said, why would you do this? Why would you put a store in a town with nothing here? Why wouldn't you go to Moberly where you would have a lot more traffic? Well, I didn't want to do that. I live close to home. The people that were coming to my house I live close to the store, not close to home. I live close to the store. So the people that were coming to shop in my driveway in the bus all lived in my town. So I thought, I'm just gonna be there and be right here local for them. And I kind of believe that our small town can come back. I've seen some neighboring towns. They're thriving, they're building, and I hope that our town can do that too. So I'm in a good location where I have a lot of surrounding traffic. So I have Highway 24 that runs Moberly to Carrollton. So I'm starting to see people stop on their way when they're passing through to go to Moberly, or they're stopping in on their way home from work. We have Thomas Hill Lake and like the Bevier-Macon area. So people are starting to reroute their traffic to come to my shop to see. Marketing is how they find out about me. And I literally do it all. I am the marketing manager. I do HR. I do all of the ordering and all the accounting, all the paperwork, all the steaming, all the tagging, all the things. So back to 2022, when we opened the storefront, we were open from November to December 23rd. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, I had received a phone call that there was a fire and I needed to get there ASAP. So I thought, gosh, what happened? Did I leave Christmas lights plugged in? Did I leave a space heater on? What did I do? So I get there, driving into town, and I see all the smoke, and then my heart just falls. So I get closer, and it's not my building. So I'm like, oh my gosh, thank the good Lord. It was another building. It was 2 doors down from us. So luckily, we only suffered some smoke damage. So here I am in January. It's super cold. Everybody's pipes are bursting. It's kind of like another crisis nationwide not nationwide, but in our area. Like Kansas City had pipes busting everywhere. So the whole month of January, I'm sitting and I'm waiting, and I can't get any response. Going through the insurance process was terrible because they were busy. Adjusters weren't calling me back. Nobody was calling me. So I sit on my thumbs for about 6 weeks, and I thought, well, what am I gonna do? I can't sell any inventory. It's all smells like smoke. I don't know what insurance is gonna do. So at that time, I invested in some education courses. So every day I would just get on my computer, and I spent about $2,500 for this retail boot camp. And that helped me a lot, just trying to figure out new things, new processes, what's gonna work, what's not working, how do I fix things, how do I become a successful business owner? So that's what I did in my downtime. We were able to reopen in February of 23. It was the best weekend that our store had only been open for 6 weeks, but that weekend was our best weekend so far. It was the weekend of Super Bowl, so I had printed up some Kansas City sweatshirts. And usually my sweatshirts only say Kansas City. I don't ever print the actual arrowhead or their logo because that's copyright and trademark, and I don't want to get in trouble for copyright infringement. So I just kind of keep it simple with Kansas City on my sweatshirts. So we reopened, and then of course we're in a time of inflation. So we're still kind of, it's been up and down. You always, as a business owner, have to figure out like what's working, and retail's not in its strongest right now. I hope and pray every day that it will come back around, and I think it will. I have talked with other entrepreneurs who have said that they've seen this before, it'll come back around, but it's not right now is a challenge. And I think it's everywhere. A lot of other businesses probably see it too. People are not tearing out the fence, or they're not building a pond. They're just not doing the big projects right now because things are at an uncertain time. So those are some of the challenges that I have faced. I've done not a lot, but a little bit of like youth education. I go to a couple of our high schools and talk about just like the different processes, and they are starting to do some screen printing at local schools. They're getting embroidery machines. They're getting printers. So they're starting to do a lot of those things at schools. And I think that's great that they're teaching those things in school, because I never had that in school. I taught myself everything. I have a question for you guys. So do you guys embroider or print anything on campus? Like your Vikings athletic store, does the students print that?
They have a heat press.
A heat press?
It's the store, the students don't, the store owners do, and then they employ some students from here, but they have a heat press at their store.
Well, that's too bad. That could be a fun thing for students to learn. I would say being an entrepreneur has definitely challenging, and like the last speaker had said, you literally put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. Long hours, you work all the time, and I think that's really what it takes. You have to be all in or not all in at all. A typical day for me right now, I wake up in the mornings, my screen printing equipment is downstairs. It's too big to go to my store, so I print before I go to work. I open my store from 10 to 6. I did take my embroidery machines to my store, so I'm producing while I am there. And I also sell wholesale a little bit too. So that keeps me going in a small town, because if I were to sit in a small town, I probably wouldn't survive. And that's what a lot of people think. So there's ways around it. You just have to have the right mindset to what you're doing. My son is going to be an entrepreneur. I feel like that's an accomplishment that he has learned from me. I hope anyways. I always try to teach him and guide him in the right direction, but he is headed to taxidermy school after high school, and he's going to be opening his own business. So he's been looking at some things, just how to do things, how to manage funds, spending, all of that. I'm going to see what else I had, if there was any other key points I wanted to cover. One thing that I didn't really jump into a lot was graphic design. It's something that I never knew, wasn't taught any of it, and it's rather difficult when you literally have to teach yourself all of that again. So I wish that was something that I would have done more, was take a graphic design class. I always source it out. I have a couple of designers that I work close with, and they will help me with designs and things like that. But I do use Canva a lot for marketing. On the screen printing side, I use Corel Draw. You guys are probably more familiar with Adobe Illustrator. A lot of people seem to use that. So Adobe and Corel Draw are both platforms that can be used for graphic design, but as far as marketing, I use Canva a lot. And that's kind of about my business. I do all my own printing, I do all my own embroidery, I sell a little bit of wholesale, and I just work all the time.
All right, thank you. And it's time for some questions. So who has questions? Very good presentation. Who wants to start the questions? Here we go.
You may have said, and I apologize if I missed it, do you sell online?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up. So I do have a website. It's called rayoflite.com, and we also have a mobile app. We added our mobile app probably 2 years ago, and that was probably the best thing that we could have done. So the app is right at your fingertips. We can send notifications, so you might see, hey, there's a new product in your feed, or hey, just for you reading this message, you get 10% off tonight. So we're able to send some promotions through the app, and it's just easy. Shoppers can get on, they can find things, and they're more likely to put their product in their cart and shop on the app, and then they also earn rewards. So we have a rewards program where they earn a percentage back. Every time they shop, they are earning store credit to shop with us again.
Okay, who's next? We have one up here. We'll wait and get the microphone
You
so
get a
everyone
prize
can
for
hear you.
asking a question. You're welcome.
Oh, look at that, if you ask a question, she's giving
Yeah,
you the gift. There
got
you
some
go.
chapstick in my pocket. You're welcome.
Okay, what's your question?
What advice would you give to people wanting to open a small business?
Planning, having a business plan is good. Just knowing what you're going to do, how you're going to get revenue to come in, having a solid plan.
Okay. Who's next?
A couple of students have mentioned to me that they would like to have a clothing business. Now that you have experience with the clothing business, could you tell us a little bit more about what are the biggest challenges in the clothing business, and how do you overcome and how do you stay ahead of the trends?
Sure.
Yeah.
So when I first had the bus, I was printing everything for the bus, doing all the graphic t-shirts and sweatshirts and all the embroidery. Well, when I would go to a show, there were some weekends where they would wipe the bus clean, and then I had to go back home that week and restock it. So that's when I started looking at, okay, I'm going to add some just regular clothing and other items, accessories to the bus where I don't have to make it, so then I can help refill that bus without spending so much time producing and manufacturing. I went to market. There are markets all over the world. There's Dallas, there's Atlanta, there's Nashville, Chicago, Vegas. You can go to those. There's also groups that you can buy into and learn the education side of what's trending. A lot of it is just researching. I mean, the markets always help too. All the vendors come, most of everything, it comes from China, pretty much. So a lot of those clothing is sent to LA. LA is where the fashion district is, and you can go to LA and shop there anytime. When they have markets, those vendors are going to those towns to all come together to just spread out and give people shopping opportunities throughout the world. So markets or doing your research. And I don't always know, so a challenge for that is what I think might sell doesn't always sell, and then what I think will sell doesn't always sell. And I would say the biggest challenge is jeans. Everyone's body is built so differently. You have short inseams, and then you have longer inseams, and then you have people who like straight leg, or you have people who are stuck in the skinny era and they don't want to go to the flare or the boot cut. So just having on hand what people want to see, what they want and their likes, is challenging with jeans, I have found.
Next question. Anyone else?
I think I got some more chapstick.
Well, I guess I have a little question. I don't need chapstick,
You
but
sure?
I'm very familiar with their community of Huntsville, very small town. And you said you stayed there, you want to help your small town out, and that's where you came up. Clifton Hill's even smaller than Huntsville, but was there something there that you thought, I need to go to Moberly or Marshall, a community that size? You restored a building in a very small town.
Yes.
That had to take a lot of, to stay.
Yeah. I have the bus, and I take that out to different towns. And when I go there, I'm able to tell people about my store. So I have seen a lot of traffic come, because when I bring the bus, I don't have everything with me. I just have a few things that I hand select to take. And then I'll say, well, hey, come to our store in Huntsville and check it out. And our town is starting to grow. We have a small event center who does a nice lunch on Wednesdays. So she's bringing people in to just see her event center. She wants people in the door to see what she's capable of doing, what she can do for your birthday party, your graduation, your retirement party, whatever event. She wants you to come in and see her things. So I always promote what she has going on. And then on Mondays and Fridays, we have a pop-up grill. So they just cook outside. They have burgers, fries, pork chops, tenderloins, chicken strips, things like that. So I always try to collaborate with other people on what's happening to just bring more people to town.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, Desiree, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Milena, will you come up? Again, as you look in your program, Milena Simic and her group has done a tremendous job the last 3 days putting on this, and we've learned a lot. And so, Milena, come up, it's all yours.
Good afternoon. Thank you once again for being with us for the last 3 days. Over those last 3 days, we had the privilege to host fantastic speakers who were at different stages of entrepreneurship or business ownership. Some just beginning, some in the growth stage, and some nearing an exit or already planning and visualizing the next idea. I hope that you enjoyed listening to our speakers and that you use this extraordinary opportunity to interact with them, to exchange ideas, which is the purpose of the Maastricht Institute of Entrepreneurship. I also hope that some of their messages have resonated with you and encouraged you to pursue your ideas and dreams, whatever they may be. One day, soon, we would like to see you take this stage and tell your story for the next generation of MVC students. The Institute co-founder, Dr. Ed Elliott, was not able to join us this year. However, he asked me to relay his greetings and read the following message to you. First, I want to express my thanks and appreciation to Milena and the other faculty and staff who have given their time, energy, and enthusiasm to making this year's Maastricht Institute of Entrepreneurship a success. As one of the original co-founders of the MIE, it is so humbling but impressive to reflect on the 16 years of presentations given by the participants. We have had presentations dealing with topics as interesting as trash collection, space exploration, and every topic in between. Our first few years of Maastricht Institute of Entrepreneurship sessions were often mixed regarding student, faculty, staff, and others attending. There is no question, however, that as the MIE matured, our audience increased accordingly with a broad cross-section of attendees. And the support for the MIE has been excellent. We are especially pleased by the support provided by President Parisi and the Missouri Valley College faculty and staff. Sandra and I are always honored to be back on campus with the Valley family and to lend our support to this outstanding program. Thank you for supporting the 2024 Maastricht Institute of Entrepreneurship, and we shall anticipate an even better program in 2025. Dr. Ed Elliott, President Emeritus, University of Central Missouri. I would like to give them a hand of applause, and even though they're not here, they are supporting. I would like to thank Dr. Ed Elliott for these kind words, and thanks to all the co-founders for making the idea of Maastricht Institute come to life in 2006. I also have to mention and remember the original Institute director, late Professor Larry Stockman, who was the chair of the business division and who led the MIE planning committee between 2006 and 2022, and whom we dearly miss. And in closing, I would like to recognize and express my sincere appreciation to everyone that has contributed to the success of this year's institute. And yesterday I mentioned it is a team effort, and I would like to just go through my list here and give appreciation to everyone that has contributed and helped and participated in making this year's event a success. Our sponsors, Wood and Houston Bank, happy 150th anniversary. We wish you many more years of success. Your support is invaluable. College President, Dr. Parisi, and the Board of Trustees for emphasizing the importance of the Institute as a unique learning experience and for your dedication to Missouri Valley College. All of our speakers, for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with us and share your stories. Scott Queen, Executive Director of Marketing and Communications, Cameron Godsey, Graphic Designer, Brandy Schulte, Executive Assistant to the President, and Patty Jo List, Copy Center Director for all things marketing, coordination of important details, and printing. Mr. Ken Kuyava, Director of Viking Sports Network, our MC extraordinaire. Chaz Maddy, MVC TV Manager, Instructor of Mass Communications and Mass Communications students for recording the MIE and preserving it for the history. Thank you. School of Business and Technology faculty, Professor Christina Wilson and the Intermediate 2 students for being in charge of registration. Charlie Dukes, Rina Mura, Vladimir Simic, Beverly Katz. Also, Athletic Director Mike Mockholtz and Dean of the School of Education, Dr. Lisa Rice, for introducing our speakers. Our IT experts, Kelsey Brownlee, Aaron Dickey, Lorenzo, and David, for technology setup and support. Fresh ideas for support, for providing us with delicious refreshments and lunch that will follow. James Rowlett, Director of Student Activities, Student Affairs crew, Pam Eddy, and MVC maintenance crew, and the men's soccer team for the conference setup. All the wonderful members of the Marshall community that have joined us for our 3 days, the Chamber of Commerce, we had Mayor Letterby, we had the Marshall High School principal, and if I'm forgetting someone, I apologize. And most importantly, thank you to all of you, our students, for being here with us and participating in the 16th Annual Maastricht Institute of Entrepreneurship. Thank you very much, and we're looking forward to the next year.
Oh, by the way, you did forget somebody, Milana Simic. Ah, a lot of work goes into this. It's a very successful program. We will have lunch. Stay. It's good lunch. So we'll do that. We'll have breakout sessions. I know Desiree and Kelly are going to stay around. And your bus is out there, huh? Okay, if you want to see the bus and then her business, more than welcome as well. So thank you for coming. Enjoy lunch and the breakout sessions and enjoy the bus.